Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Anything But Hold'em. Today is our today is something I'm calling Draw Tuesday for lack of any sort of better name on that. Basically, what we got going for you right now is a 5-card draw game. This is another one from my Poker School Online home game series. Didn't do so hot with that yesterday. I think I did take one win down, if it wasn't yesterday, the day before, and I've had 3/3, so I was sitting in second place overall in the standings there. But it's been pretty hit and miss. I've been going out early in a lot of things. 5-card draw is not my best game, so could be quite a hoot out here. We'll see how that. We'll see how that goes. Alrighty, so we got 4, 6, 7, 8. This is not a great hand, but we're probably going to draw one into a gut shot and miss it. But we're getting into the spot for free for just the blinds that we had to put up anyways. So you know what the hell, we may as well be drawn to our gut shot, right? We missed it. I suppose the other option that you can do here is draw two, draw the 2 and the deuce and the 4, so that you're drawing to a 3-card open-ender. That might improve your odds slightly in that situation. It's hard to say. But I really think that if you're... Yeah, it's hard to say if you're not in a situation where you're basically in the pot regardless because you're checking through on your blind. It's hard to say what I would do with that hand. You obviously don't want to be paying a lot of money to draw to a gut shot in a single draw game. For the record, this is single draw. I'm pretty sure that all 5-card draw games are single draw variants. I don't think I've ever seen a triple draw variant of 5-card draw. I've seen various limit versions of 5-card. Holy crap, we just got that Delta Natural straight. This is actually the second time we got that. Just before I started streaming, I was dealt a natural straight off the bat as well. Which is a pretty unusual thing to have in the course of how many hands we played here. We played 14 hands. In the course of 14 hands, I've been dealt 2 natural straights in 5-card draw. That's pretty remarkable, I think, ladies and gentlemen. There's got to be some odds about that, and the numbers on the one side are going to be really huge, and the numbers on the other side are going to be really small. I think getting dealt 2 natural straights in the first 14 hands of a 5-card draw game. I think I might put my mic down and go to the store and buy a lottery ticket. Actually thinking about the odds of that of that occurring in 14 hands. So yes, no, we'll see you later, folks. No, I'm kidding, of course, but no, that's a fairly unlikely event to have. Yeah, to be dealt 2 natural straights in the course of less than 15 hands in a tournament. Wow. Cool. Anyways, I guess if you've come back to see me, you might notice that the get rid of that. You might notice that our interface is a little bit different. I've added some graphics and a title. I've decided the title for the series is going to be Anything But Hold'em. Here's my dilemma. I'm trying to figure out a way to convey my idea that I want to play games other than Hold'em in this, without having a title that specifically focuses with the word Hold'em in it. And I couldn't find that title. Anything But Hold'em seems to say it best from what I can think as far as I'm concerned. But if anybody out there in the audience has any ideas, then you know, let me know. See what come and tell me what you think, and we can maybe change the name. For now, we're going to call it Anything But Hold'em. And as we saw yesterday, that doesn't necessarily mean there will be no Hold'em on here. It simply means that we will mostly play games that are not Hold'em related. Like today, we're playing Five card draw. I'm going to call this Draw Tuesday because depending on how long this goes and whether we want to continue streaming or not when this is done, I think I said when I started off, five card draw is not my game, so this could go very quickly, potentially. I mean, I'm doing okay in this, obviously, but getting dealt two natural straights in 15 hands really helps your chip stack typically without really having any ability to skill-wise. I mean, you don't need to have a lot of skill in the specific variant of poker that you're playing to understand that getting dealt a natural straight is a good card. You should not draw any cards, and you should put as many of those round betting discs in the middle as you possibly can with a hand like that. With a hand like this, I don't really want to put any of the round betting discs in the middle because it's just torching them on fire. It's like holding a little blowtorch underneath of your chips and watching them go up in flames. If I put chips in the pot with that hand, because somebody's going to call me, and frankly, it's just not gonna end well, like it didn't end well for I mean, that was two pair against three of a kind against the straight, so that's a hand that's probably going to go to the river if you get my drift. So yeah, it's a lot of fun with this game. It's going to be hard for me to talk about strategy a huge amount because I have no clue what the strategy is. I obviously can understand a bit about how to make a hand with the way that you draw, but even that I don't really understand the fine points of. Once it gets around to betting and trying to figure out whether you're ahead of your opponent or behind your opponent, I'm pretty much pissed in the dark on that one, folks. I really got no idea. If anybody is watching and listening, let me know if you've got some ideas about how you place your opponents on ranges in particular hands in five card draw. I've not figured out the way to go. It just seems to be a piss in the dark kind of contest. Looks like we got some viewers popping in. That's cool. It's good to have you around. We are calling this series Anything But Hold'em. At least at this point we are. And we will largely play Anything But Hold'em. I'm calling this Draw Tuesday, as I said, because I'm playing five card draw right now. Depending on when this finishes, there is a Limit Badoogie game that I played last night that I finished third in. It was a 330 buy-in, I think it was. And I was thinking I might do a hand replay of that game later on if I happen to bust out of this five card draw early, which is a likelihood no matter how many chips I happen to have in my stack at any given time. In a five card draw no limit game, I can be gone like that. Because, as I've said, this is not my best game, ladies and gentlemen. This is probably the absolute worst version of poker as far as my skill level compared to anything else is concerned. And I mean, look at a hand like this, and I really have no idea. I know I needed to be in because of the pot odds and everything, that I was getting like a billion to one pot odds there, so I knew I had to come in. But I really have no idea what my best draw cards are there. I mean, I'm going to draw to the flush, but I know drawing two cards to flush is, like buying a lottery ticket for pretty much. You're not going to hit your flush very often when you're drawing two to a flush. As you can see here, I hit one flush card, but didn't hit the other flush card, and ended up with a queen high squat. Basically, is what I ended up with. And against Bill, Bill doesn't necessarily need to have a hand here, but I don't have anything I can call with, and he knows I'm probably not going to have anything that I can call with. So, it's going to be interesting. I just realized that I have got the wrong name going on my channel. Let me pull up my dashboard and fix that, since we're not doing Giddy Up Horsey, and we've done episode 2. Ooh, this is a hand that we probably want to put some chips in the middle with. We've been dealt natural 7s. We would have drawn 2 to that and hopefully hit either another 7, which is unlikely, of course, but maybe bring a pair back and you hit a full house. So that was obviously a hand we want to play. This is obviously another hand where we want to play with the aces. We're going to end up tossing out 3 cards if we play this, probably. Yes, we're going to discard 3 when we get called by Fadian there, and we've just tripped up the aces. So in this situation, we've bet pre and we've got called, so we're expected to bet out. So having continuing with our aggression is the way to go. You can easily think it's a c-bet, and you can easily call us with a weaker hand, certainly than what we're holding with trip aces. So, I mean, I think that's fairly straightforward poker, no matter what variant you're playing. So, and we're updated. Right, so we've got a pair of 5s here. I don't think we want to go too crazy with a pair of 5s. I should actually talk a bit about some of the people at the table. We've got some people that we've seen in a couple of the other Fadian we've seen in one of the other games that I've streamed, I'm sure. I don't think we've seen any of these other players at the games that I've streamed. We're going to discard 3, of course, here to our pair of 5s and see what we see. Oh, well, that's... Yeah, I don't know a ton about 5-card draw, and I will be the first to admit that my game is not the strongest. But if you draw 3 to a pair of 5s and you end up with 5s full of 6s, that constitutes a good draw. Just for the record. I was going to talk about some players. This Miss Gilly is actually my girlfriend, and I feel real shitty about this because I think I'm about to knock her out. So yeah, that was kind of shitty of me, but hey, what can you do? It's the way, you know, life goes. Very good games, guys. So yeah, I just knocked out my girlfriend. Bill Curran, I'm quite happy to have managed to get rid of in this game. I just folded a pair of kings here, but just mostly because that's not a great hand in 5-card draw. I mean, obviously it's a great starting hand, but you don't know what you're going to draw into. And being out of position, and with Steve Hitzak, who's a fairly strong player that I play with a ton. In position, I just didn't need to be throwing chips back into that pot. I think we're gonna draw 1 to our gut shot here. It's not a great thing. I think we're gonna raise because River's sitting out. Fadian very easily could fold, and we take everything down. Well, now that Steve's come in, I think we're gonna call and we're gonna draw 1 to our gut shot and see what happens. This is not a great odd hand, obviously, and I'm probably playing this. You know, people that play 5-card draw out there are probably running around screaming, going, no, this is the worst way you could possibly play these cards. But, you know, what the hell, I told you at the beginning that I don't know how to play this game, so we're just going to have some fun and play. I'm going to try to throw a half-pot bluff in here, just because I know I can't win the pot any other way. I'm presuming that Ace High is no good in pretty much any situation on 5-card draw. So, or very few situations, and nobody's going to call you if your Ace High is good. So that was a bluff, just to make sure that he was going to fold something like a pair that didn't hit anything further after the draw. So I'm fully aware that I was betting with the worst hand there. That the whole point was to get him to fold, which he did, which is nice when the objective of what you're trying to do actually works. Welcome, Mr. Matt. Poker News CA_Matt is one of my Poker News Canada colleagues. He writes some great stuff from Ontario for us. So yeah, he's great to have him here. Great to have him here. Great to have everybody here. Actually, anybody who wants to come. We've just drawn into 3 queens, which is a pretty good place to draw into, I think. And I think we're going to half pot. Well, do we want to raise? Yeah, I think we want to raise. I think 3 queens is strong enough here that we probably want to raise. I really don't know what fist is going to throw a less than half pot bet on. But when he calls, it's clearly obviously not queens there, or it's not as strong as 3 queens. I mean, I'm clearly running like Usain Bolt in this particular 5-card draw. I don't necessarily think the fact that I've got 10,000 chips and I'm in first position is indicative of my skill level at all. I think I've just been getting dealt huge hands, like two straights in the first 15 hands, and I'm drawing amazingly. Alrighty, so this is an interesting. I'm going to check through on this. This is a very interesting spot, and this is one of those spots where I really don't understand the game of 5-card draw, because I don't understand here whether the best odd play would be to draw 1 to my flush or to draw 3 to my pair of sevens. I honestly don't know at this point whether the best odds play. I almost always draw 1 to the flush and miss and have to fold out on the next. So that's clearly not the most optimal 5-card draw play, I don't think. But it's the one that I tend to that's the move that I tend to do, and it tends to work out about as well as it did on that attempt that I had there. So I don't know if there's people out there that play draw. Let me know in the chat box if what the best move there is. If when you've got a pair and you've got 4 cards to a flush, do you draw 1 to your flush or do you draw 3 to the pair? That is the question of the day, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to call behind, even though I'm out of position here. I'm going to call behind. It's only 80 chips into a, it's like 1 billion to 1 odds, so it's something that you want to get into, I think. We're going to discard 3 to our pair of 9s. So we had a decent hand. So we got a decent hand. We still only got a pair of 9s. I don't think it's something we want to throw a crap load of chips in on. But yeah, it's a hand that I'm gonna probably check through and stuff on. I don't think I call much there with the way the draws go. Although Fadian did just draw 3, which means he's probably just on a pair. But I mean, a pair of 9s is one of those pairs where you really don't know where you are. You got a pair of queens, pair of kings. You know where you are in the hierarchy of pairs out there. 9s. Well, you know where you are. You're in the frickin' middle, which means you see it's just as likely that somebody's got a bigger pair as it does that they've got a smaller pair. So, pretty much. And given the fact that people tend to play their bigger pairs more often than they play their smaller pairs, it probably does even out to pretty much as many bigger as smaller at that point. We're going to draw 3 to our pair of 5s. I think that's a pretty typical play. Although again, I'm just kind of talking out my butt here because I don't really have any clue what the proper and optimal 5-card draw strategy would be at any given time in any given situation. That's pretty much a true statement for me in 5-card draw. But as I said at the beginning of this, I'm not here to play the games that I'm really good at, or that I think I'm really good at, or that I have any illusions that I'm very good at. I'm here to play anything but HoldEm, as the title on the top of the box today suggests. That's what I'm here to do, is play anything but HoldEm. And there are games out there that are not HoldEm that I suck very badly at. That doesn't mean I'm not going to play them for this series, because they're not HoldEm, and so therefore we're going to play them. We're going to have some fun with them. I'm not going to drop an $11 buy-in into a 5-card draw tournament when I think that I stink at the game. That just doesn't make any sense at all. So I'm going to play free rolls and very low buy-in micro stakes games when it's things like 5-card draw, and I know that my skill level is subpar. But I'm still going to play them, because the whole point of this series is to show people games that they don't normally see. And certainly 5-card draw. Well, and here's the thing: 5-card draw is probably one of the most historic versions of poker around. You know, a lot of times when you're seeing poker in the olden days, quote unquote, whether it's riverboat gambling or whether it's gambling up in the Klondike in Canada or places like that, what they're talking about is 5-card poker, right? It's not the 7-card variants that we're seeing today. That's all newfangled stuff. The original stuff was 5-card poker. Now there's 5-card stud where you get dealt 5 cards and you're done. That's obviously a pure bluffers game, and I'm pretty sure that was also usually played back in a day where the full deck of cards wasn't as big as it is now. And I think you were only looking like face cards and things like that. I'd have to read back on my history again, but I'm sure I read something about that. But the 5-card and the 5-card variant, especially for a Canadian, I mean, this is really our game. It developed, from what I understand, in the Klondike and in the Yukon. That was really where it was first played a huge amount. And it's the game that I grew up thinking of as what poker was a game where you got dealt 5 cards, you decided which ones you wanted to keep, you threw some of them away, you got another set of cards back, and you played your hands that way. That was what I learned of as poker when I was a kid. When I started to see like No Limit HoldEm and things like that on TV a little later, I'm like, this is not poker. This is, you know, because of course I've learned we've hit 2-pair 10s and 3s. It's not a huge 2-pair hand, but it's probably worth throwing some chips in the middle on, I think. Given the way that we've been running, I think we're probably going to get a lot of folds when we throw chips in the middle like that, unless somebody's hit a monster. I think everybody's been seeing us just hit cards like crazy, and you know, everybody. It's just sort of human nature to get gun shy when you keep putting money in the pot and somebody keeps sucking out on the draws on you, which I freely admit I've been doing, sucking out on the initial deals and sucking out on the draws quite remarkably and quite frequently in this one so far, which is the only reason that I'm sitting in first position in a game that I freely admit I don't really know how to play, and which I'm sure if there's anybody out there watching that is yeah, Lane, this is one of the PSO this is one of the PSO home game series, 5-card draw, event number 18. As of the end of yesterday, I was sitting in second place overall in the standings this time. Still lots of games to go though, so we'll see what happens. I'm clearly sitting in a nice position in this one to pull down some points, so we'll see what happens at the end of the game. Right, so that draw didn't go so well. However, Vicky, that's like a pot. No, so 200 into 985. I'm getting like almost 5-to-1 odds for a pair of 10s. She drew 1, which is usually indicative of a straight or a flush draw. That busted. Nope, I was wrong. Straight or flush draw that busted by hitting a pair. That's irritating. But hey, it's the way it goes. Did someone check 3 4s that I missed? I think I might have been chatting and not paying attention. For the record, we just saw 85 Fastlane show up in the chat box. He is also another Poker News Canada colleague of mine. He's actually the editor of Poker News Canada. I really don't see any way that I can draw into this hand to make it a hand, so I'm just going to fold those cards. So yeah, Lane is our editor at Poker News Canada, and Matt's another one of the writers. All we need now is for Anthony WTF to show up, and we'll have a full contingent of Poker News Canada writers out there. This is one of those hands that would just break my brain, I think, to figure out what I wanted to draw to. So I think I'm just going to fold it out because I mean it's not It's not a hand that's hugely strong right now. Pair of nines. It's not. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's not a hugely strong hand right now. And I'm looking at this. There's like 7 different permutations of cards to draw to a hand. Whether you're drawing your pair of nines, or whether you can draw to your straight, whether you can draw to your heart flush draw. I mean, it would break my brain, I think, if I was trying to figure out what the permutations on what I should draw that was the best odds on that hand. For the record, if somebody else out there, as I said, what do you do with that hand? I mean, I honestly have no clue what you do with that hand. I'm going to check this hand, and I'm going to draw 1 to my 2 pair. With any luck, we hit a queen or a 9, and we're off to the races. But even without a queen or a 9, we're pretty comfortable, I think, with this hand. You know, again, I'm not an expert at 5-card draws, so I really don't know, but I'm pretty comfortable to bet. Certainly if Steve checks to me, I was comfortable to bet out like a half pot, 2/3 pot kind of bet. Now that Steve has bet, I think I'm never raising 2 pair here, I don't think. I mean, I just can't see that I'm strong enough to put in a raise at this point, but I don't also think I'm ever folding 2 pair at this point. Yeah, I mean, 8's full of jacks. I'm never beating that, right? So you know, it's worth we done. We're moved to another table now, so we've jumped across around. Let's have a quick look around the table. We got easy chips for you. I must have 10,000 freaking hands against easy chips. I mean, that's an exaggeration, but I'm sure I've got 1,500 or 2,000 against easy in the HoldEm vein of things. Lewis, likewise, we've seen Lewis in one of the other streams, I'm sure. Very solid player in the HoldEm sphere. I don't really know what his 5-card draw game is. I'm going to guess that the majority of these players are not regular 5-card draw players. Like me, they're probably don't consider this to be their best game. I could be wrong about that. Maybe somebody out there did, but Brian, we are playing. Yes, I should probably be a good stream host and talk about the event. We are playing 5-card draw with a actually 5-card draw bounty. This whole series is a bounty series, which is really bizarre. It ends up with some bizarre variations. Like we had a limit Badoogie bounty game the other day, which is just fucked up. I mean, there's just no other way to put it other than you know, a Badoogie bounty game is just fucked up. But yeah, all of these are bounties. Each one of the 40 games in this series are going to be bounty games, so that's going to be kind of cool. This one is a 10 cent plus 2 cent for the bounty, plus 1 cent for the PokerStars Fat Cat to throw in his large pool and dive and swim in Scrooge McDuck like. Actually, I guess that PokerStars Fat Cat pool has moved to Montreal these days, hasn't it? So might have to go out to Playground Poker at some point and look around and see if I can sniff out that pool and have a swim. Anyways, so yes, we are. It's like a 13 cent with 2 cents for the bounty. The prize pool is at 24 cents. 5 places are being paid out because 27 people started this tournament, which is actually fairly large lately for these home game ones. I'm going to draw 2 to a flush here, which again, like I've said before, is probably like buying a lottery ticket and hoping to win. Yes, you're right. He is the editor-in-chief of Poker News Canada. Did I? Really? I was the last act and I checked down a set of 4s? I freely admit I don't know how to play a 5-card draw, so sometimes I don't know what I am. I'm also, when I chat in this, I sometimes lose what I'm doing in the hand, and I will make moves that are a bit unusual, even in the games that I think I understand, which this is not one of them. Well, I'm not going to ban you in my channel in Twitch, Matt, but, you know, somebody else might do that. I don't have a moderator yet. I need to probably find a moderator at some point, although right now we've only got a few viewers at a time, so it's not going to be a big deal for the most part, but at some point I guess I would probably have to find a moderator as things go. We got a pair of tens here. People are having like a little chip fest going on in here, so I don't really think we've got enough equity in this to call. Our chip stat, we've been giving away chips for the last couple of hands, and I think we want to make sure that that stops. We're against a set of sixes over there, and yeah, I mean, I don't really think that a pair of tens is ever really going to be a spot that's worth calling on here. I think this is one of those places where the sort of novice player is tempted to draw two to the diamond flush rather than breaking everything up and drawing to the pair of threes. But I think obviously drawing to the pair of threes would be the way to go to there. However, when Easy Chips shoves his stack in front of you, you're probably just folding that out because there's really no, your draw equity into a pair of threes is going to be pretty low, I think, overall. Alrighty, pair of jacks is a decent place to start. I think we're going to raise, assuming we open. I think we're going to open raise this. Yes, I think we're going to open raise this with a 2.5x open. The pair of jacks I think is strong enough that we probably take this down pre-flop a lot of the time, just like that, or pre-draw a lot of the time. A lot of times I'm going to use terms that just don't make any sense for the game that we're playing because I'm not always sure what the proper term for that would be. Same situation, obviously. If we're going to do this with a pair of jacks, we're probably going to do it with a pair of queens as well, drawing three into our queens and hoping we're hitting another pair or putting a queen in. I think in this situation the tens isn't really strong enough to have called him cold a couple of hands ago. With 1,000 already in the pot, we're calling 4,000 into 7,500, which is almost 2 to 1. And a pair of queens is a good place to start. He could easily have us beat, obviously, but a pair of queens is a good place to start in one of these hands. With him drawing at 2, that's a little scary because it means that he may have started rolled up with 3 of a kind, which means we'd have to hit our queen to be ahead, which we didn't do, and yes, that's exactly what's happened. So that's probably an example of my lack of draw ability. I wonder if he's going to answer you later. I wonder if he's been banned. That last hand was probably an example of my lack of ability in draw games because I probably should not have continued with when the odds were under 2 to 1. My queens there are I mean my queens there are never good, and certainly when I see him draw 2 there, my queens are never good. Now obviously I don't know he's going to draw 2 when I call, but when he overshoves on me like that, I really think that my queens are probably not as strong as I thought they were. So that's probably one of my spots where the inexperience showed through. Matt, you got Pro Mod experience. Interesting. Well, we could probably trade those things, although I don't know how the scheduling would work if I modded your chat and you modded my chat. But we could certainly look at something like that, I think, at least to start out. So I talked before about what I plan to do today. I am going to do whatever happens in this 5-card draw game that we're playing now. And if I go deep in that, great. I'll stream until we're done with the 5-card draw game. If I bust out, which could happen on any hand at any time in this game, then there was a Badoogie, a $3.30 Badoogie, fixed limit Badoogie that I played last night in the middle of the night while I was sitting up watching the WSOP main event final table with my Poker News buddies, all of whom slept in this morning, I think. And I was thinking that I would do a hand replay on that Badoogie tournament, which I could tell you how I finished in that and give you spoilers or not, depending on what you guys would like. And this is another one of those hands that would just break my brain to try to figure out what I wanted to draw to, so I'm just going to fold it out pre because there's nothing made pre, so. Alrighty, pair of threes. I don't really think we want to throw a ton of chips into the pot with this on a typical situation. But given where we are, chip stacks, what the blinds are, I think what we're going to do is shove with this. Hope to collect the blinds and antes. And if we don't, we draw 3 into our pair of threes and kind of spray and pray situation at that point. But with any luck, they fold. Getting a bit more than 2-to-1 odds, but they've got to think that shoving under the gun is reasonably strong here for me. So I don't think that they're going to suspect I'm doing this with a pair of threes. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought would happen, just because Easy's going to sit there looking, well, I just took a big chunk of your stack a while back with trips. I don't think you're going to do this week. So I kind of expected that I would get a fold out of that. And I might get a fold here, which would be a shame, because our 2 pair of 7s and 4s is a pretty strong hand, I think. Obviously, it's hard to improve that. You're drawing 1 to hit either a 7 or a 4, of which you've got 2 possibilities for each. So you're basically drawing to 4 outs to improve that hand. So you don't have a great number of odds to improve, but there aren't a lot of draws that you make in 5-card draws, I think about it, where your odds are that great to hit what you're drawing to. The odds are pretty limited. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that's probably a hand that you want to be involved in if the betting hasn't gone too crazy for you. I think with a pair of queens here, which I'm going to draw 3 into, I think I want to be involved in this pot. I was seriously thinking about over-shoving on Starbase there. I don't really think I get a fold, though. And I think that what that ends up happening is we get to me drawing 3 to the queens and him potentially drawing 2 to trips, as we saw with Easy, or drawing 1 to a straight or a flush, which is a situation you don't really want to be in, because I mean those aren't huge draws, but they certainly hit enough of the time that you don't really want to be there. Yeah, see, drawing 1 there, that usually indicates, well, either the 2-pair hand that I had before, which I would draw 1 into, but that's almost always a 4-card straight or a, we're going to check this, what I'm thinking is that's almost always a 4-card straight or a 4-card flush that they're drawing into. So I really don't think that I'm good here very often. I mean, I certainly could be, but sort of the worst, I mean, if he's not drawing into a draw, he was drawing into 2-pair there. So, I mean, I think I have to fold that out. I don't really think the queens are going to be good there very often. Alrighty, pair of aces. We're gonna go to town on this one. We don't really have anything to play with pre, so we're just gonna drop everything in pre-draw, and we're gonna draw to 3, obviously, but we're gonna get folds a lot there too. Alrighty, Matt, thanks a lot. Appreciate you guys coming and hanging out. So we will see you guys later. Yeah, hopefully I'm still streaming in 2 hours as well, because that means that things have gone well. As I said, I'm going to do maybe a hand history of the Badoogie tournament that I was in last night, in the middle of the night, as I was watching the WSOP main event final table with my Poker News Canada buddies. We'll see how long this five card draw goes, to see if I replay that hand history or not. This is a hand that that I'm tempted to try to draw it to the ace king with, but I have a feeling that's a really bad play, so I'm not going to do that in this case. If there's anybody watching that plays 5-card draw, let me know what the play would be there with an ace king, deuce 3, deuce 3 8. But I think throwing your cards in the muck is probably the best situation there. Or I mean, an open raise maybe would work there, and just expect to fold out. Right, so we've been moved to another table. We got Happy Sap on our right, who is a Jamaican fellow, if I'm not mistaken. No, sorry, an Irish fellow, who's actually a very good player that I've played with quite a bit. I've quite a few hands with him on. I don't really, again, know much about his 5-card game, and I'm going to guess that most people here don't play 5-card draw a ton. So I don't think anybody's going to be really a huge amount, a huge player in this. But I respect Happy's game of poker regardless. So Data is fairly new to these home game series, I believe, but a pretty competent player from what I've seen. Likewise with Vixky, pretty competent player. Haven't seen as much of them as I've seen of some of the other players in this series. I don't think there's any reason for us to consider calling here or getting involved in this pot. Certainly not when Happy shoves. I mean, we were probably going to try to raise Vixky out of the pot if it folded to us. But, I mean, this is one that we're definitely going to... I think we're definitely in this. We're going to shove when it comes to us, and we're going to hope that the blinds fold, but we can draw one to our flush, and I mean, we're actually drawing one to a gut shot straight flush draw, which is a pretty strong hand when you hit it. Obviously, drawing one to a gut shot straight flush draw means you got one out, but you've actually always got the second out of everybody folding and just letting you pull the chips in while you quietly give the cards to your. Now, what we've got here. I think we're going to do the same thing and see what happens. Now, again, I don't know that drawing one to the straight flush, open-ended straight flush draw is the highest odds of hitting, or the highest odds of ending up with the best hand at the end of the draw sessions. But breaking up that straight flush draw to draw 3 to a pair of 8s just feels wrong in any poker context that I can imagine. So, yeah, I mean, what can I say? That just feels wrong. So I breaking up an open and a straight flush draw is just I don't think anything you should ever do in any variant of poker. So, but if you disagree, let me know. We've just hit the break. I'm gonna pause the mic and go do some of my custodial duties. And I'll be back. Thanks for listening. Alright, I am back again. We are down to 7 people left in this tournament. We had 27 starting. It's a fairly fast structure, as you've been watching. It's 5 minutes, but we're getting to pretty high blinds pretty fast. And it was a start stack of 2,000. But I mean, we're now at 300, 600 for small bet, big bet. So it's pretty, or for small blind, big blind, so it's pretty chunky, pretty chunky blind level. 5 people are getting paid out of this tournament. There's 7 left. I'm sitting in 4th place for chip stacks right now, so not doing it terribly, but obviously not doing great either. But nobody really is. So we got $1.10 up top for first place. We've got 21 cents at the bottom for 5th place in this tournament. But in truth, the main reason we play these, at least for me, is the fact that it's a series of 40 tournaments, and at the end of it, you total up your points, and they give you tickets, various tickets to the top 10. Last month in October, I won the series, and I got a $22 ticket out of that, which I plopped down a couple of days ago on the $22 stud high-low tournament at 9:50 p.m. Mountain Time that runs. It was the first stream that I ever did, and I ended up chopping the tournament for $170 heads up, which was pretty cool, I thought. That stream unfortunately was lost to the ether when I didn't check the archive box properly, or I didn't know I should check the archive box on the Twitch stream. So it's gone and lost to the internet tubes somewhere. But you can actually check out a couple of my previous broadcasts that have been archived, and this one will be now as well. And I'm throwing stuff up on YouTube as well. So stick around. We're gonna play anything but Hold'em, as the title suggests. Although, just to clarify, we will sometimes play Hold'em as well. We won't play Hold'em very often, and we will play other games than Hold'em more often than not. But we will sometimes play Hold'em here on anything but Hold'em. Very rarely. However, today we are not playing Hold'em. Today we are playing a 5-card draw. This is Draw Tuesday, and I'm gonna play around with this 5-card draw tournament. See where we finish on this. It doesn't look like, regardless, even if I go deep and win the thing, it doesn't look like it's gonna be going on very much longer with the way the blind structure is going and the way our chip stacks look. We're gonna be finished with this fairly quickly, regardless. So when that's done, I think I'm going to throw on the Limit Badoogie game that I played last night, $3.30 buy-in. That was a lot of fun, and I'll throw up the hand replayer on that, and we can talk through some of the stuff on that, because it was a situation where I'm not really sure how I ended up finishing the way I finished the tournament, because I was pretty much the smallest stack from start to end is my memory of the thing. So it'll be interesting to watch it on the hand replayer to see if my memory of the tournament is the same as what it actually was. So we'll throw that up on the stream once I'm out of this 5-card draw by whatever means, whether it's holding the trophy above my head and the $1.10 prize pool being stuffed into my pocket, or whether it's sulking away in shame when I get busted out in one of the next 2 spots, because there's 5 people paying and we are 2 away from that bubble, or we're 2 away from that ITM min cash position. We probably wouldn't have played this if we didn't have to put our blinds in, and I honestly don't know what the most profitable draw for this is, but I'm going to draw 4 to the king and just see what happens. We get a pair of 8s, which is, not the worst thing in the world, but probably not going to win us a huge number of 5-card draw pots, I'm thinking. Data draws 1. As we discussed pre-break, I'm thinking that that's usually a straight or a flush draw of some sort that's being drawn to. It can also be a 2-pair draw that you're drawing to. If it's two pair, obviously I'm dead. If it's the straight or the flush draw, the pair of eights has a good chance of being good. So I'm going to actually throw my 600 in and see what happens. Yes, he was drawing on a two pair draw on that one, which, you know, is one of the possibilities in my mind, anyways, of a one card draw situation. But the tricky thing I find with draw is not so much looking at the number of cards that they draw and guessing what they're doing it with, but it's after the draw figuring out whether they've hit what they're trying to get at or not, and how what I've hit or haven't hit stacks up in comparison to what they've hit or haven't hit. That's where I have my issues with draw games. You know, I guess that corresponds to me being pretty comfortable with the pre-draw game in draw games, but just not in the post-draw game, I suppose. Now, obviously, the pair of deuces is technically a pair, but I don't think for a happy shove in front of us there's any reason for us to play that. As you can see, if you've watched some of my stuff before, I've added some graphics to the setup. I'm learning the open broadcast software a little bit better. I was a complete newbie at this the first time the first time that I broadcast a stream. I literally was live within 30 minutes of downloading the open broadcast software for the first time. So, for the record, if you've ever thought about trying to stream, it's as easy as that. I mean, literally, you can wake up one morning and say, "I want to stream," and 30 minutes later, be live streaming on the internet with whatever game you want to be doing, whether it's poker or whatever else you happen to be playing. It's remarkably easy these days, and for a 48-year-old guy that was born in the 60s and grew up in the 70s and the 80s, it's pretty remarkable to be able to, in 30 minutes, be broadcasting potentially to the entire world, although at the moment to 3 people and with 101 views. But that's cool. 101 total views actually means I've cracked the 3-digit mark on my total views, so that's a clapping. That's something to clap for. So thank you everybody for coming and stopping by. Click the follow button if you like what you hear. We will be playing anything but Hold'em for the most part. Sometimes we'll play Hold'em here on Anything But Hold'em, but for the most part we'll play anything but Hold'em. I could obviously draw one to the gut shot Broadway, but I don't really think that's a good equity play pretty much any time. So we're gonna go. We've just dropped into the final table. Which means there's 6 players left now, 5 cash, so we're on the bubble. Not everybody who sits at this final table is going to walk away with any pennies. We're still trying to figure out who gets the min cash of 21 cents. As a reminder, this is also a bounty game, which I gather is a bit unusual for 5-card draw. Everything in this series has been a bounty game. I probably folded too strong of a hand there with the pair of 5s, but being under the gun in this spot with people that have less chips than me or that are close to me, I think I want to play a little bit cautiously at this point, especially in a game that I freely admit I'm really completely out of my depth in. So, yeah, I think that, you know, with this, we could easily see I could be cashing, you know, after this by that fold. That fold could have me in cash. Yes, that fold has me in cash, which is, you know, awesome. Right. right, so we're cashing in this 5-card draw game, which is remarkably surprising to me. And holy crap, we just got dealt a natural full house. How often are you going to see? And actually, this game we've played what, 67 hands in this game. I have been dealt I've been dealt 2 natural straights. I've just been dealt a natural full house, and at least one other time I drew 3 to a pair of 5s and drew a 5-6-6 to draw into 5s full of 6s from a pair of 5s, which I don't know very much about 5-card draw, but I'm thinking that that's not a very likely way for drawing 3 to a pair of 5s to turn out. Obviously, it's one of the various permutations and combinations that you can have happen, but it's not going to happen on a regular basis, from what I can tell. So yeah, I've been getting cards like, you know, I've been running like Usain Bolt today. Just crazy. The cards have been coming at the times that I need them, and that's been pretty cool. So we're here. We're sitting second of 5 now. We are in cashing position. I think that there's no reason why we can't think about winning this, which is remarkable given that I've been saying all along that I really have no clue what I'm doing here, and that's still true. I still have no clue what I'm doing here, and there's you know, I think that the only reason that I'm in a position where I'm going to take cash home from this tournament and potentially win the thing is because of the dumb luck that I've been getting with my draws and with my with the deals. I've just been getting dealt good cards, and when you get dealt good cards in poker, even if you don't have a fine grasp of the finer points of the rules, you're going to win a lot of pots, and you're gonna go deep in the tournament. That's just, you know, getting dealt really good cards goes a really long way to cover a lack of skill in poker. Right, so we've got pretty much nada on this, so I think we're going to fold this out and just let other people play around and see what happens. We got a couple of people. I'm obviously third of 5th now. I want to sort of wait out and see what happens with TJ Vancouver and Data before I do very much, because they're obviously in a more precarious position than I am, so they have more reason to act than I do. And you know, it's money laddering. You know, you can't. Right, 2 pair. I've pretty much got to play this one. I think we're not gonna go crazy with it because we don't have to go crazy with it. But I don't mind TJ coming in the pot at all. Now I'm gonna draw 1, and I hope that it makes it look like I've got a straight or a flush draw that I might have busted on, because that will mean that they're undervaluing my hand, and I can maybe pull some chips out. I think. Wow, this is a tough spot. If I knew that TJ Vancouver was going to call, I fold this spot almost every time, despite the fact that I've got 2 pairs, so I'm relatively strong. I think I still fold this, and my rationale is if TJ calls and busts, then I've just laddered. I mean, that call has just made me, well, in this context, that call made me 6 pennies. But the amount of pennies that it made me isn't the point, of course. The point is I laddered up 1 more position, which in any poker tournament is what you're trying to do, and there's always a pay jump that's relative to what you bought in. And if you think about this as a 10-cent buy-in, then a 6-penny ladder is actually a relatively significant ladder that I'm getting at. So if you're not thinking about those sorts of things, even in the micro stakes game, obviously you're not thinking about it the same as when the ladder is from $210,000 to $270,000. You're thinking of that ladder in an entirely different way, and what it can do for you is entirely different. But you still have to be in the microstakes game looking at it as though the extra, it's like an extra 6 points going into your point status. That's how you have to look at it, because we keep score in poker with dollars and pennies. So leveling up is obviously the what you're trying to get at. I'm going to check here and see what happens. I'm probably calling off anything, but yeah, like I say, I didn't really need to risk a crap load of chips at that point, and it gives me a chance to live to play another hand, potentially. I'm done here very quickly, though. Obviously, I think it's I've got limited options. I've got like one big blind left, 1.5 big blinds. After the blinds come around again, I'm dead anyways. Being four-handed, the blinds are going to come around again, like now. So it's yeah, I'm pretty much. There's not a lot that I can do. I mean, that might have been the place to go, just to put my chips in a spot where I had a pair, but it didn't really seem like it was worth the risk at that point. And you know, there's a lot of people that say, well, it's not really worth coming back with one big blind. Well, it is worth coming back with one big blind, because you could then potentially sit around and get a hand like this, which at the end of the day, I might end up with as much as 7 or 8, 6,000 chips here, right? When even without hitting something, which I didn't, but I mean, aces and tens is a pretty strong hand, especially drawing against two guys that are drawing three cards. So there you go. I mean, I'm obviously not in good shape anymore again, but I'm right back in the mix with these three low stacks. Happy's obviously running away with the chip lead, and that's, you know, somebody's usually going to do that at some point. Excuse me, sorry about that. But all of us here are pretty much even. I mean, on any as we go through the blinds, one of us will end up second, then they'll go to third, then they'll go to fourth, and then they'll go back second again. And that's just, you know, until somebody breaks out and gets a hand that they want to go to town with. This might be it with Starbase and Data. I'm getting the hell out of the way because I don't have anything that I really want to draw to here or anything. But yeah, it kind of sucks that when I'm on the button, it's Starbase that's got the. See, now this is a hand that just kills me. It kills me to break up four clubs. It really kills me to break up four clubs, but it kills me to break up a pair of aces at the same time. So I honestly am conflicted like crap on a hand like this as to where I should draw and how I should draw. So I'm hoping to hell that Happy folds out and just gives me the blinds and antes. Yes, that's exactly what, because I hate both drawing options. I hate breaking up four cards to a flush, and I hate breaking up a pair of aces. And I had to do one of those things when I drew to that hand, if I had to draw to that hand. So that was actually, even though I didn't make any more chips on that, that was actually in my brain. The sort of best case scenario for that hand to play out was for Happy to fold so that I didn't have to make a decision on what I was going to draw to. Right, so there are 4 people left in this 10 plus 2 plus 1 bounty no limit 5-card draw tournament. I gather that's a fairly unusual. Format. I think we're gonna play this. I mean, we're in the money, and we need to start building a stack if we want to go anywhere in this. So I think we have to start gambling a bit. And maybe wasn't the place to gamble, but you know, that's okay. We finished 4th, and I'm good with that. You know, cashing at all in a 5-card draw game is pretty remarkable. to me. So I'm pretty good with that, to be honest. I got no real issues with the result. I'm pretty happy to come forth in that. It's more points in the standings, which will be nice to get in. Crazy Dumno is running away with first. I am in second, or I was in second the last time I checked, but I was way behind Crazy Dumno, who is in first by like 300 points. I had like a 280 points, I think it was, and he had like 550. So it's a little bit of an unfair race at this point. But you know, what the heck? That's the way it goes. He's a very good player. So it oftentimes comes down to him and me. Big Blazer is usually another guy that's hanging out at the top of the chip, at the top of the stack at the end of the 40 series. So we'll see what happens. We'll keep going. It's fun to play this one. It was good to see a draw game. I know a couple of people have been requesting some draw games, so we will see. We'll see from there what happens. I am going to get rid of this draw game and bring up the Badoogie that I played last night, and we'll go through the hand history of that. And then we will close out the stream for the day, I think, and hopefully everybody will be trundling off to watch the final 3 of the WSOP main event final table tonight. Alrighty, so let me do a bit of maintenance here. Actually, before I bring up the Badoogie, why don't we just watch and we'll comment a little bit on this final table. We got happy with obviously a massive stack of chips in front of him, and Starbase is definitely got to work to get some chips back if they want to stay in this. I think the obvious strategies are for Happy to put pressure on every pot that he possibly can, and for Starbase to put pressure on when he's in position, basically shove in position and potentially fold out anything that's not a monster when that happens when Happy's in position. So it could be a pretty tedious heads up here, but it could also, I mean, it's also one of those where one hand and it's over kind of thing, or two hands and it's over. I think we're gonna see a lot of that shove in position from both players, and it'll just be whether Starbase can double up a couple of times or not. And it looks like not. It looks like Happy's taking it here. So Happy Sap won that tournament, collected their own bounty plus Starbase's bounty. Starbase came second. Third went to a Data 37. Fourth, of course, went to yours truly, Elron66, with poor fellow TJ Vancouver as our fifth place finisher with 21 cents. Easy chips for you was our sad Bubble Boy, who made it to the final table and yet didn't get paid. That's cool. He'll be back. He's a very strong player. He's one of the ones that usually fights out in the top 10 for tickets at the end of the month. So yes, we are going to bring up the instant hand history and the replayer for the Badoogie that we played last night. Oh. I don't seem to have that anymore. Do I still have that? And I don't even have it up. That's rather annoying. I may not be able to replay the Badoogie for you. I think I've lost it on the instant replayer. Alrighty, well, I'm going to close this down for now then. We will call this a wrap on Draw Tuesday, and if I do manage to find that Badoogie table, and bring it up in a replay, I'll fire this stream back up again and we'll go through a hand history of the Badoogie $3.30 that I played last night, and ended up finishing with a min cash on for $9, which was pretty cool, I thought. Anyways, thanks for watching today, our Draw Tuesday. A bit of 5-card draw. I surprisingly cashed in a second min cash in the tournament. I came 4th out of 27 people. And yeah, it was a good result. It was much better than I was expecting. I was expecting to bust out fairly early, but turns out they did okay. So we will see you again for another edition of Anything But Hold'em. Later.